The Devil's Blue by I Knew a Man on AO3. Episode 9, Chapter 6, Clue. The very next day, Izuku sets about getting the photos taken during the stakeout developed, a step he would usually process with much apprehension. The lab technician at the precinct tends to latch onto Izuku whenever he walks through the doors, chattering about the awe-inspiring world of crime investigation techniques as Izuku struggles to break free from her clutches like a prey escaping its predator. It's an obnoxious process, getting photos developed, and as a rule, Izuku aims to avoid it completely. This time, however, he doesn't fray. Although it's true, Hatsume Mei is intent on talking Izuku into wishing for the sweet escape of sudden deafness. She must more speculate towards fresh faces than old ones. It's the only time Izuku will admit that it's not so shabby having Bakugo assigned to him. As Hatsume Mei has jabbered on to the blonde about recent developments in blood-detecting tools, Izuku had peacefully awaited the development of the stakeout photos. It was a new and foreign situation for him. It was as if he didn't even exist. Mei had kept railing Bakugo with tales of horrific scenes she had been a part of, and the man had looked understandably mortified by the lab technician's intensity. Red eyes wide, arms crossed, and stance incredibly defenseless. It had been an amusing sight to witness of the usually aloof man. Izuku hadn't even taken the time to fully bask in Bakugo's discomfort in favor of grabbing the developed photos as soon as they were done. He immediately signed to the blonde that their business in the lab was finished, and Bakugo, the prick, hadn't even bothered to make up an excuse to Mei before departing from the room in a flash, leaving Izuku to deal with the aftermath of an excredible climb lab technician cut off from conversation. It's lucky that Izuku has years of experience feeding off the chattery Mei under his belt, and as soon as it only take him roughly 20 minutes to extract himself from the lab, he made his way back to the precinct floor and found Bakugo already at his desk and his forehead pressed against the surface. Izuku hadn't even asked. He knew what the man was attempting to recollect himself after the meeting with Mei, where his flight or flight response had no doubt kicked in. Leaving Bakugo to his affairs, Izuku had started in on going over the photos from the stakeout, and soon after, he was joined by the blonde. The two of them august over every single detail in the photo about half an hour before Bakugo announces in a grim tone, "There's nothing to draw from the photos." Izuku can feel his eyes burning every time he blinks, but that's nothing compared to the burning fire of determination that refuses to give up. Let's compare them to our other photos in the evidence section of the file. Reaching for their case file, Izuku flips it open to the evidence section. He eases out the photos taken during the previous stakeouts and arranges them on the desk so that every single photo is visible. Bakugo instantly leans forward in his seat, squinting at all the photos displayed, dark glaze prowling over each and every one of them. He scrutinizes the photos for another 20 minutes before shoving himself back from the desk and crossing his arms in a huff. There's still nothing connecting them. He spits out, frustration lacing his tone. We have just spent an hour looking at photos and found fuck all. Izuku is tempted to heavy a sigh, but he doesn't want to show Bakugo he's also struggling to make a connection based on their evidence. The man already sounds defeated from having stared at the same 16 photos for almost an hour. Izuku can't show he's feeling the same way, although he's very tempted to rub at his eyes until he goes blind to save him from having to look at the photos any further. He refrains. You've got nothing to say? Bakugo grunts. The sigh just barely holds itself back from escaping through Izuku's lips, but it's a close call. He doesn't dignify the blonde with a look when he coolly replies, I'm trying to work, if you please. He'd expected some sort of sassy response, maybe a tough or some other disapproving noise. But instead, there's just silence. It causes Izuku a minor pause. He's torn between wanting to peep at Bakugo to see what the reasoning behind such a calm expression is, and staying focused on his work. Ultimately, his work wins out. Shocker. and Izuku redirects his lapped attention on the evidence before him. The stakeout photos all look genuinely the same. Sketchy people lording around post boxes prior to and after depositing money into said post box. They all look the same, but are erratically in different neighborhoods. They're all poppy red, they're all constructed from iron casts, and they all show no signs of having been broke into from the outside. Izuku also happens to know that it's the same for the inside. The people in the photos also look about the same. They all wear some form of garb that covers most of their face, like a hoodie or a scarf. Most of them have their fingers decked in rings or bracelets, and none of them deposit any letters into the postbox except for what appears to be a wad of cash. There's no other connection between these people, and it's driving Izuku to the brink of madness. He's sure there must be something that links them all together. He's just not seeing it. And if he's not seeing it, then it must be because it's not glaringly obvious. It must be small, minuscule, something that could be easily missed. Fighting off the urge to yawn and break free from the hellish staring contest he's got going on with 16 stakeout photos before him, Izuku leans in even closer to them. He slowly drags his gaze along every edge and detail, from the color of the people's outfits to what the weather appears to be like in the photos, hoping to exploiterate any sliver of information. It's a slow and obnoxious process, and Izuku's about ready to give up and try a different approach when he notices something. He's not really given the jewelry worn by people much thought, originally having passed over them. However, on closer inspection, he notices something. 3 out of the 5 suspects they've gotten on camera are wearing bracelets. Not just any old bracelets, but matching ones. They look to have starring tying them together with a small piece of metal or perhaps silver at the point of focus. There also appears to be some form of symbol on them, but Izuku can't properly make it out. It's definitely something worth some suspicion, and that suspicion is further strengthened when Izuku notices the bracelets are only present in photos prior to the money drop-off, not after. He can't confirm anything, but Izuku would bet anything that those 2 suspects from the stakeout photos were also wearing similar bracelets. Unfortunately, due to them wearing long-sleeve tops, it's not visible in the photos. Look. Izuku clears his throat before repeating it in a louder tone. Look at the bracelets on them. Bakugo immediately leans over Izuku's shoulder to peer down at the photos. The sudden close proximity stuns Izuku momentarily, and he sits with bated breath as the blonde tries to find the same connections he did. After a few seconds of silence passes, Bakugo asks, "What about them?" Izuku keeps his gaze reluctantly focused on the evidence before him as he points between the relative photos. With these 3 individuals, they're visible in the photos prior to the cash drop-off, but not afterwards. They're dropping them off. Bakugo breathes, realization dawning. But why? Perhaps that's the signal, Izuku suggests. He could feel the thrill of the case starting to bubble up in him once more, transforming the exhaustion from mere moments earlier into new and revelating excitement. We were trying to figure out how the distributors were alerted to the arrival of money in the post boxes, and perhaps that's the signal. The bracelets are the signal. Bakugo turns to look at Izuku. The awe the man is feeling is showing on his face clear as day, with his eyes wide and mouth agape. Honestly, the sight of the usually inscrutable Bakugo wearing that expression is nothing short of an ego boost for Izuku, and he makes sure to properly relish the feeling. Izuku returns the evidence photos at hand, green eyes rushing over them. I can't really make a sense of the bracelets, if I'm to be honest. There seems to be some weird symbols on it. Gang signs? Bakugo offers. Izuku tilts his head to the side and purses his lips. Probably. I'm not sure. If these distributors are affiliated with a gang, it'll be easier to identify them and apprehend them, but we've got to identify the gang first. Izuku snaps around to stare at Bakugo. Exactly, he confirms with a bright smile, oddly proud of the man. Unfortunately, I'm not great when it comes to the gangs in the city, but Sergeant Ida might. He's been on the force and dealt with the brute front of criminal activity in the city for a lot longer than the rest of us. He's our best bet. So let's go find him. I'm gonna. Izuku shoots back. Slightly miffled. The fleeting moment of pride is quickly replaced with his usual irritation when in Bakugo's presence. He'd forgotten how annoying the blonde was. Alright, that's actually a big major clue. Noticing something like as simple as jewelry and stuff like that. I would like to say that I would have noticed it first. I'm joking, I would not. I could be dense as fuck. Alright? Dense as fuck. Right? Sometimes something as obvious as the jewelry would pass over my head. I would be like, alright, what type of crimes do they commit? But where do they live? Is it that? No. Something as simple as jewelry. Yeah, that would fly over my head, right? We got a little moment of another moment where I think it was a little, not necessarily romantic, but can lead down a romantic path. Bakugo looking at Izuku with admiration, right? That plus the other time when like Izuku was really adamant, like, hey, I'm not giving up on you. I am trying. I'm gonna make up your mind. And Bakugo being like, all right, I admire that. As I mentioned before, I feel like in this fanfic, Bakugo and overall Bakugo probably like someone who's confident and set, you know? So I feel like to Bakugo, maybe that was also another moment of like, oh, okay. So you do know your stuff. Okay, great, amazing. So yeah. I read a comment about, what's it called? The chapter where Shinso appeared, and somebody in the comments said Shinso was flirting heavily. And I'm like, okay. You do not need to rub it in my face. I get it. This isn't a Shindeku fic. This is a BKDK fic, okay? I also meant somebody in my comments went like, BKDK's back. Oh my god, we love it. I know you guys love BKDK. I try to shift it so it's multiple types of ships and not just my favorites. It's why I did Kiri? No, it wasn't Kiri. It was Deku Kim? What would you call the ship between Deku and Dinky? Deku Dinky? Whatever that was. Which, that was interesting. That was fun. That was an interesting ship. You know, interesting, cool dynamic there. And then we obviously have BKDK. I'm trying to get some Shindeku. Not Shindeku, sorry, my bad. Totodeku. Because I know that's another one that people like. So I'm trying to get Totodeku. I'm trying to get just a bunch of ships and different things to cater to the most people and whatever. Obviously, I'm probably going to have the most Shindeku and Found Family fics because those are my faves and those are the ones that I cater towards. I will say there's a fic coming along that is a Hot Wings fic that I secured. So that's going to be fun. That's going to be cool. As always, my raindrops, make sure to eat, sleep, drink water, take your meds. I also have a, wait, hold up. No, move on that. I found Toga and Ochako series. I'm gonna do that. I mean, like, there's a bunch of one-shots that I'm also planning on doing. I haven't done one-shots in a while. I will start doing one-shots soon. But there's also a one-shot that I'm thinking about doing, and I haven't gotten to it and whatever. But there's a series with Toga and Ochako, and I'm really interested. I like that series. I haven't read it yet, but like, what's it called? I had it recommended to me by someone. And I was like, okay, great, amazing. I'm going to do that. And I like that ship. So I'm going to love the series. And I hope you guys love the series, right? I really want to do more. I want to do a lot more of Toga and Ochako as well. Because those ships tend to get buried down. Girl X Girl ships tend to get buried down. Unfortunately. But I want to do that. I want to do that one. If you guys have any Ochako and Toga fics that you love, please put them in the comments. I don't care if it's a series or a one-shot. Go ahead and give it to me. Even if it's uncompleted, give it to me and I'll see what I can do. All right? Anyways, back to the outro. As always, my raindrops, make sure to eat, sleep, drink water, take your meds. Have a wonderful day or night. Link to my Discord server and socials are down in the description. Subscribe to see more of my content, and thank you so much for watching.